Tonight, called October 21st, 2013, Blue Springs City Council meeting to order. If you would stand with me, observe a moment of silence, then I will lead you in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Welcome you in attendance as well as those that might be watching on cable TV 7 to tonight's City Council meeting. The next item is the consent agenda. Do we have any items that need to be pulled? If not, I will accept the motion for approval.
So moved.
Is there a second? Roll call, please.
Councilman Quabell?
Aye.
Councilman Levesey?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Culpepper? Aye.
Next, we have an introduction of reading of Bill 4279.
I'll introduce, Your Honor.
First reading of Bill Number 4279, an ordinance approving the final plat for Tamalis Place, Lot 1, City of Blue Springs, Jackson County, Missouri.
Move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Same sign?
Second reading of Bill Number 4279, an ordinance approving the final plat for Tamalis Place, Lot 1, City of Blue Springs, Jackson County, Missouri.
Move the bill be approved on its second reading and assign the appropriate ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Levesey?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Culpepper? Aye. Councilman Quabell?
Aye.
Carried unanimously, given ordinance number 4458.
Next is going to be a presentation by Roger from the Mid-America Regional Council.
Your Honor,
And he's on his way.
I believe he just pulled up in the parking lot.
Just pulled up, okay. I guess to expedite time, I'm going to go ahead and do my thoughts dependent while he comes. Now, I don't get a chance to do this very often, so I'm very thrilled to be able to say here tonight that the Blue Springs Wildcats, ranked number 1 in the state of Missouri, are 8-0. 8-0. With their stadium announcer being that melodious voice and city councilman and mayor pro tem, Dale Carter. I further will state that the Missouri Tigers are 8-0 in first place. Oh, they're 8-0. No, 7-0, 7-0. The Wildcats are 8-0. Mizzou is 7-0 in first place. Then we bring it back home. The Kansas City Chiefs are 7-0, undefeated in first place, even over Denver. Again, with that melodious voice. Stadium announcer for the Kansas City Chiefs, our own city councilman and mayor pro tem, Dale Carter. So we're doing extremely well, and we're just very proud to be able to do that. It's not oftentimes that we get a chance to do that. Those are my thoughts to ponder tonight. And the author of that one is me. Roger, you want to come on up?
Yes, sir.
I've just taken time to allow you to come.
I'm sorry I went to City Hall. I think Todd wanted to get home early to watch Dancing with the Stars.
Truth hurts.
Roger, welcome.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. I'm Roger Crum with the Mid-America Regional Council. We handle I handle the energy projects for them. And there's been a new kind of financing that's cities across the United States have been starting to use the last couple of years called PACE, Property Assessed Clean Energy Financing. We started looking at it to see if we thought that it would have potential for our businesses in the Kansas City metro area. And it was primarily started for the two reasons. Okay. For the two reasons that are on the first slide is a good business retention tool and a good job creation tool. It's pretty easy to get into, and I'll kind of talk about kind of the 10,000 foot points, and then get into a few of the details, but I'll let you off easy. I've only got 8 slides. But anyway, the way PACE is set up, according to the statutes in the state of Missouri, it's an independent taxing district that administers the program. Cities and counties get into it. It's totally voluntary by passing an ordinance to create the PACE district and appoint a representative. Every county, every city that joins it has a representative on the PACE board. The PACE district makes loans for energy improvements to businesses, and this can be anything from new boilers, new insulation, new lights, new windows, even solar panels. The way that it works is the dollars that are saved, you do the improvement to your business, and the dollars that are saved immediately is what you use to make your payment for your loan. As soon as you make the improvements, your gas bill, your electrical bill goes down, and you use that savings for whatever the term of your loan is to make those payments, so you're not paying any more dollars than what you were paying when you were writing checks to the gas and electric utility. You're paying out the same dollars, just peeling off a piece for your loan payment, and that goes for your loan. And then when you have that paid off, whether your term is 5, 10, 20 years, then you really get the benefit. PACE, Property Assessed Clean Energy Financing, is because it's paid with a special assessment. Special assessment is considered a safer way to for people that invest in the PACE program, that lend money to the PACE program, or people that buy bonds that the PACE program may issue. A special assessment is a much more dependable source of revenue than what oftentimes you would find in a typical lending situation. Some of the key points: it's completely voluntary, both to the community, whether or not they want to provide it, and to the business. A company, to be eligible, must be current with their tax and utility payments. Some of the advantages of PACE financing is it provides 100% financing. The term can be up to 20 years, and because you're using a revenue bond, eventually the way this thing is structured is banks, energy funds, foundations could invest in the PACE program, and that would create the lending pool that would initially make the loans. And then every time you got enough loans, a pool of loans to total up to at a minimum of $2 million, the PACE board would then issue a revenue bond. The city would not be issuing it, the county would not be issuing it, the PACE district and the board that manages it would be issuing the revenue bond. And the special assessment stays with the property, so that if you sell your business, that you could, if you wanted to, pay it off, or the new buyer would pick it up. 4 steps for a business is a business would decide what the project scope would be. They would have an energy assessment engineer or an energy assessment professional do a pro forma for them. They would obtain the loans, complete the project. Then the PACE board annually would certify the assessments to the county. The assessments would go on their tax bill, just like for a water, if you had water assessment or sewer assessment. And then the business would pay off the loan with the special assessment. So instead of writing a monthly check to a bank, you're paying off your loan with the when you pay your taxes. I talked briefly about the 2 sources of funding. There's the initial funding, and then there's the long-term funding. Just want to emphasize there's no full faith and credit behind the bonds. They're revenue bonds. The city or the county that participates is not responsible for those bonds. It's the PACE district. Board membership: each community would have 1 representative, 2 if you're over 75,000 people. There would be an advisory committee established of people that have background in the kind of professions that would be helpful to the PACE board, people that are knowledgeable in finance, energy improvements, development, and then administration Mark would serve as the administrator of the project. Mark's fees to do this would be paid by the borrowers. There would not be a fee charged to participate to a city or a county. The borrowers would be paying the fees, the cost of administration. And then last, primarily for the benefit of the city attorney, wanted to emphasize that for each participating entity, whether it's city or county, there's, according to this, I pulled this directly from the statutes, there's no liability to a property owner. If there's any issues, it's between the PACE board and the property owner, and the PACE district is considered an independent entity. We are talking to a lot of the communities and their economic development or their Chamber of Commerce groups. Brian Starner was one of the first people that I talked with because I knew he had some economic development, financial background. And these are the communities in the different counties that we're talking to. We're asking the jurisdictions to decide whether or not they would like to participate. And we are hoping that each community can do that in the next 30 days, and we'd probably take the communities that decide to participate and have our first organizational meeting after the first of the year. So that's kind of the time frame that we're on. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Roger? Okay, Councilman Fowler and then Councilman Levesey.
Yeah, the special assessments you mentioned, they would only be on the properties where a business wanted to be involved in this.
Correct.
Okay, and what if they're a business that just leases that property?
This would be, the owner of the property would have to sign for it.
Right, even if they lease, okay.
Yeah, so it's for owner-occupied businesses, buildings that are leased, like so many of them are, and even an institutional use, like a city, a county, a school district, or a hospital could use it too.
So it sounds like they're just using their property as collateral to get a loan, almost, yeah,
The lien on the property would be the collateral.
yeah, okay.
Councilman Levesey?
I have the benefit of having heard this before at the Eastern Jackson County Betterment presentation you made. And there were a couple of things that I heard you mention tonight that I still had questions on. And one of them goes to what Councilman Fowler, maybe you could speak to. My only concern with this is essentially if a business were to participate and they have a special assessment and they were to try to sell that building, then essentially we have individual properties throughout the city that have a higher tax rate than other properties because a company has participated in this, then try and sell it, or we're going to price ourselves out of the market by having these little individual buildings throughout the city that have a higher tax rate. So could you speak a little bit about how that may work?
Yeah, we see it, we think it'll probably make a property more attractive. I mean, the seller of the business was paying X amount for his utilities. He'll be paying the same amount, just a little bit less to the utilities and for the period of the loan, his loan payment. And we think that potential buyers would see that property as more attractive because it's going to be more energy efficient. And while so you're essentially paying the same amount as you were paying to the utilities, and then when it's finally paid off, your operating costs go down.
Because of the city. And that was the other thing I heard you mention at that meeting. There's something in the law that specifically says you can't pay more money after having gone through this process than the previous.
You got a good memory.
Well,
That's true.
That would help alleviate my concern
Yeah.
if there was specifically part of the statute that said there's no way you're paying more because it's in the law.
What the law says is that the cost of the improvement cannot exceed what you were paying for your utilities. The combination of your lower utility bill and what you're paying for the loan cannot be more than what you were paying before for just the utilities. And that's in the statute, as you mentioned.
So if a property owner were to find themselves in a situation where they would just take it up at the pace board and
Yeah.
try to work something out? Okay.
Yeah, and that would be one of the review things that we do when these applications come in.
Okay. The only other quick thing from that meeting, I remember Independence specifically had some concern about power generation because they're the only municipality that actually has their own power company. And I don't remember from that, is power generation completely out of this process? It's not allowed? Or is that just something Independence was just had some concerns that it was a part of it?
Yeah, since the point is that Independence has its own municipal utility, and they're concerned that if everybody would partake of it, they've got bonds to pay and so forth on their utility. I haven't heard of that happening in the 30 or so states that have started this, and again, it's relatively new. But what we foresee, and a point that was made to me by KCP&L that inherited a lot of the Aquila district, was that they see this as a way that could slow down the ever-increasing need for new capital, new equipment, new substations. Just by the businesses being more efficient, and it would kind of drop the demand curve, and it would be more manageable for the company. But I know the utilities do have, if everybody would partake of it, which we haven't seen happen, they were just concerned about who's going to pay their fixed costs with their bonds.
But it wouldn't be out of the question out here in Blue Springs where we don't have that problem for somebody to use this to put up solar panels or wind turbine or something like that? Okay.
Yeah, they could use, that's an eligible expenditure.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Let's go to this side, Councilman Edmondson, and then back to this side to Councilman Corbett.
All right, if we can circle back to something that Chris had mentioned, if I'm understanding right, you're saying that your energy advisor, your pro forma that they come in and do on your savings, that amount of savings would dictate, if you couldn't by statute go over that savings, then that dictates your maximum amount of loan you could have.
Correct.
So if your energy improvements that you're wanting to do exceed the amount of loan capacity, basically the savings you're going to generate, then what do you do?
We haven't gotten to that point yet. I would imagine that, and again, I haven't had this situation come up since we're just in the startup mode, but one scenario might be that they would need to go to a local lending institution for the balance of what they need to do a project that might exceed their energy savings. I could see a situation where somebody might want to do big remodeling, and the energy efficiency would just be a component of it. And so these funds that would be generated through the PACE program would just be able to pay for the energy efficiency component.
So you could marry these things together, theoretically?
Yes.
Okay. And then also, can you explain a little bit more about, when you say a district, are you talking about, square block, individual? Are you talking about a whole city? What are you talking about when you say district?
If Blue Springs decides to participate, which we certainly hope they do, the district would be Blue Springs, and then if North Kansas City decides to partake, which they have indicated that they are going to, they would be added to the district. And it's not like a annexation or anything where you have to have contiguous boundaries. I mean, we could have Green Valley and Grandview.
Okay.
Councilman Corbett?
Well, actually, my question was essentially slightly different worded, but the same as what Kent asked, so I believe I don't have a question anymore.
Anybody else on this side? Anybody on this side? Okay, well,
No, I'm good. Oh, okay.
Mayor, it's obviously your meeting, but Brian, if you're interested, you ought to talk to Brian, because he's got, I don't think, any direct experience in this specific program, but real similar ones, and I know we've gotten very good feedback from the economic developers who think this would be a great business retention tool.
okay, Mr. Johnson?
Your Honor, just procedurally and process going forward, I believe in the information we provided you, Mark has given us a draft ordinance, and staff, Todd Pelham, Scott Allen, our planning department, and other staff at the city have had numerous conversations and meetings with Roger and his team that are working on this at Mark. You know, Mark's got a great history of running programs throughout our region. We're pleased that they brought this initiative to us because we think it makes a lot of sense that they would coordinate the initiative and have the resources that are in place to appropriately manage it. And if the council's comfortable with this, what we would do is we would bring forward the ordinance for your consideration at subsequent council meetings within the next 30 days. But I do believe we're probably one of the few ready to maybe go forward and actually consider adopting the ordinance at this point in time.
Yeah, I think you're in the lead.
And I think from conversations we've had with folks at Lee Summit, they've indicated as soon as the Blue Springs City Council might adopt this, that they would be following very closely behind there, and then others would soon follow suit. So.
Your Honor? Yeah, I mean, I guess what I've heard so far, it sounds like, they're just leveraging the state's ability to create special assessment districts on individual properties to go out and get loans for energy projects. And, that, I can see why if you're going to invest, if you're going to be part of the revenue, or part of the bonds, loaning your money to a bond, that's great collateral to have, because it's, our taxing system and assessment system does collect on property. It's very efficient, and that'll get a lower interest rate for all these projects. So, I see the merit to it, and there's no downside risk for our citizens because they're not going to back these bonds.
I guess unless there's objection, we'll just have staff go ahead and proceed, and this just gives another tool in the toolbox.
Yeah. City on the move, we might as well move on this.
City on the move. Okay, so without objection, staff will bring back an ordinance for us to pass, and certainly it gives me a sense of pride knowing that everybody's waiting on the leader, the city on the move.
Yeah.
That brings us to visitors. I don't have any visitors appearance forms, Mr. Pelham?
Any speakers out there?
Well, that brings,
Would you like to speak?
Okay, you need to fill out a form. There's a form to fill out. Well, right now, why don't you just come on up talking and fill that out, because we'll need to have that for the record. You can just tell us who you are right now.
Hello, my name is Mike Funk. I've been before your board before, a few years back. I just had a couple of things I wanted to bring to your attention, concerns that I have as a citizen of this nice town. And the first one is on some of our main through streets that go through town, like Walnut and Liggett Road, for example. There are trees along the way, and God bless the old trees that we have in our town. They're big, they're huge, and they're shady. But when they are blocking the person trying to turn the view, it's kind of dangerous. And I wanted to find out how we can get those trees trimmed back, because I know they're on private property, but it doesn't seem that the private property owners have any intention of trimming the trees back.
I suppose that if you have some specific locations, that's something we can check into.
There are two specific locations I'm interested in the moment. One is Liggett Road, the crossing there for the school at Moreland Ridge School, Middle School.
Where 12th and Liggett intersect?
Yes.
Okay.
There are trees there blocking. I've almost gotten into car accidents many times, just because I had to creep out past the stop sign so I could see. And it's there's been car accidents there before, guys. I've seen some of them. It's not pretty. The other is actually on Walnut, where my street intersects with it at 24th. And there is, to the left of my street, when I'm coming out of my subdivision, there's some big bushes there that are blocking the view. And then on my right are some big trees that are also blocking the view. And that's while you're going towards the cemetery. And I've almost had some collisions a couple of times now, too.
Mr. Sandy's writing those addresses down, and staff will go out and check those out.
Okay. I believe I emailed one of you guys about it recently. I'm not sure which one you are.
Well, Mayor, if I
Yes,
can just
yes.
interject here for a second. We receive a number of emails or calls typically about these types of issues. Generally speaking, there are two issues that we deal with. There can be city-owned trees that are in right-of-ways that we always have a little more responsiveness in taking care of, and then those trees, as you referenced, that are on private property. Generally speaking, we do have pretty good cooperation with our property owners, and especially if we can get out and we can work with the property owner to document any accidents that have occurred. Our Public Works Director and their staff are very good at following up on these types of issues. So we can go back, if you'll be sure and leave your contact information, we can look for that email that you sent, because typically if you send it to one of the elected officials, it will get forwarded to staff, and so we'll have that record of that information, and then we can follow up and see how we can help this.
Okay.
For a point of clarification, maybe from attorney, even if it's a privately owned tree, but it's growing into the public easement, don't we have the right to clear our easement? Just like the electric utility does?
There's a site at a corner and stuff, there's a site angle requirement, and it needs to be maintained, and if it's not maintained,
The city
if
has
it's on private
authority?
property, we would need to, if the stuff is over our property, we can maintain it. If it's on private property, we would have to either get the cooperation of the individual or get a court to allow us to go on there.
But we have the right to clean the easement, I guess. Is that what you're saying?
We have the right to maintain what's in the easement. Trim it, we could trim it.
But anything beyond that, we'd have to get a court order. If the property owner didn't want to work with us, we'd have to get a court order to do it, right?
Yeah, if they weren't willing to
Okay.
allow us on the property.
Okay.
Okay, that was one. What you had, you said you had another one.
I have one more. My daughter has started preschool, and I'm actually kind of concerned about a school zone area where she attends at Plaza Heights Baptist Christian Academy, and I don't know how to put this without it sounding tacky, but I'm just going to say it. I don't think the school zone extends far enough past Plaza Heights for safety purposes. And I know a lot of kids cross right there in front of that church and school area from the public school next door. And I have concerns because right there on Clark Road, I see cars whizzing by all the time. They're not paying attention to the 20-mile-per-hour speed limit. And I think personally, if it was extended past out to maybe 16th Street for that school zone, that it would make a little more sense, and that drivers would be a little more conscientious, possibly.
I would imagine that there are, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, there are standards that we maintain on the length of school zones, isn't there?
There are, and we would certainly, in fact, I already made a note of your location. We have a traffic unit who works those zones specifically, and I know the Public Works Director, Chris, probably would like to talk a little bit about the requirements there. I can see it.
Actually, we work with the school district and the schools themselves.
Okay, we're not green, we're on yellow, so, are you on? Okay, now we're back to green, but that might be me picking that up.
Okay. the school districts actually give us an idea of where they'd like to have the school zones, and they kind of set the boundaries, and that's what we work from. Typically, it's more an issue of enforcement, which I think Chief's more than happy to help out in that respect. If you want to talk to the leaders at Plaza Heights Church, or the school, and then have them contact us, we can work out if they'd like to extend it, we can look at that. So.
Okay. Well, my main reason that I brought it up today is because coming out of the parking lot where my daughter goes to preschool now, one of the cars whizzing by about clipped my front end. So, I don't know who it was. Not gonna judge or anything like that, but I did see them going into the public school next door. And so I bring that awareness to you guys because I think all of our children's safety is important, whether they go to public school or Christian or any type of private school. So, that's all.
Well, I appreciate you coming because, you know, we don't know these things unless people tell us. You know, and once you tell us, that gives us an opportunity to investigate it and see what we can do to help. So, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And please fill that out, and contact information and get it back to us.
I will.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if no one else, I will accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, same sign. We adjourn.